Michael Jordan and Caitlin Clark have just pulled off a move that's sending shockwaves through the sports world. They surprised Sophie Cunningham with a $27 million Nike deal. When the greatest basketball player of all time teams up with the hottest name in women's basketball to change someone's life, you know something special is happening. Sophie Cunningham, a WNBA veteran known for her grit and hustle, gets called into a meeting. She's expecting a routine discussion about next season's plays or team strategy. But then in walks Michael Jordan. Yes, that Michael Jordan. And right behind him is Caitlin Clark, the rookie sensation who's been turning the sports world upside down. The look on Sophie's face when they broke the news, absolutely priceless. $27 million from Nike. That's more than most WNBA players see in their entire careers combined. We're talking about generational wealth. The kind that changes not just your life, but your family's future for generations. But this story is about more than just one player getting paid. It's about women's basketball finally getting the respect and money it deserves. And it took Michael Jordan, the man who built Nike's basketball empire, to make it happen. For years, WNBA players have been getting the short end of the stick when it comes to endorsements. While NBA stars sign deals worth hundreds of millions, most WNBA players are lucky to get a few $1,000s a year in endorsements. It's been frustrating to watch talented female athletes work just as hard but get paid pennies compared to their male counterparts. Sophie Cunningham knows the struggle well. Drafted by the Phoenix Mercury in 2019, she's made a name for herself as a reliable three-point shooter and a player who brings intensity every night. Last season she averaged 8.2 points per game and shot 37.8% from beyond the arc. Solid numbers for any team. But being good at basketball hasn't always translated to big endorsement deals. Sophie had some local sponsorships and maybe a deal with a smaller athletic brand, but nothing that would make you rich. Then Caitlin Clark entered the picture and changed everything. Clark didn't just join the WNBA. She kicked down the door and announced that women's basketball was ready for prime time. Her game started pulling in viewers like never before. Suddenly, people who never watched women's basketball were tuning in just to see what all the fuss was about. Nike saw this and realized they'd been sleeping on a gold mine. Clark was bringing in TV ratings that competed with men's games, selling out arenas, and creating social media buzz that marketing executives dream about. Nike signed her to a deal that reportedly included plans for her own signature shoe line, something only a handful of women's basketball players have ever achieved. Here's where Michael Jordan comes in. MJ isn't just a retired player counting his money. He's still deeply involved with Nike and the Jordan brand. He's been watching what's happening in women's basketball with great interest. The man who revolutionized athlete endorsements recognized that women's sports were having their moment and he wanted to be part of it. Jordan and Clark had been discussing how to elevate women's basketball even further. They both understood that one superstar getting paid wasn't enough. The entire sport needed to level up. That's when Sophie Cunningham's name came up. Despite being on different teams, Sophie and Caitlin had developed a solid relationship. So Jordan and Clark went to Nike with a proposal. They wanted Sophie to be part of the new wave of women's basketball endorsements. Not just a small deal, but something that would make headlines and show other brands that WNBA players were worth investing in. The negotiations must have been interesting. $27 million for a role player is unheard of. But Jordan's involvement carried serious weight and Clark's star power added credibility. She was basically saying, "This is my league. These are my peers and they deserve to get paid." The meeting where they told Sophie was reportedly emotional. She couldn't believe it at first. The contract includes not just cash, but also signature apparel, marketing campaigns, and opportunities to grow her brand globally. We're talking about Sophie Cunningham potentially becoming a household name. Nike's investment in Sophie sends a message to other companies. You don't have to be the biggest star to deserve a big payday. Role players, veterans, the players who make teams work, they have value too. This could open doors for so many other players who've been undervalued for too long. Think about what $27 million means for Sophie Cunningham. WNBA salaries max out at around $200,000 a year. Even if Sophie played for another 10 years at the max salary, she wouldn't make close to what this Nike deal is worth. This is retirement money. This is set up your family for generations money. Other brands are reportedly looking at WNBA players with fresh eyes. If Nike is willing to pay $27 million for Sophie Cunningham, what might Adidas, Under Armour, or New Balance be willing to pay for other players? The market is suddenly wide open. For the Indiana Fever, having a player with this kind of endorsement deal is huge. It raises the profile of the entire team. Free agents might be more interested in signing with a team that has players getting major endorsements. The international implications are fascinating too. Nike is a global brand, and this deal likely includes international marketing opportunities. Sophie could become a face of women's basketball, not just in America but around the world. That kind of exposure can grow the game globally and create new fans in markets that are just discovering women's basketball. Michael Jordan's involvement adds another layer to this story. Here's a man who changed how athletes think about endorsements. His Air Jordan line created the blueprint for athlete branding. Caitlin Clark deserves massive credit too. She could have just focused on her own deals and her own money. Instead, she's thinking bigger, using her influence to help other players get paid. That's the kind of rising tide lifts all boats mentality that women's sports needs. Looking ahead, this deal could fundamentally change how the WNBA operates. If players can make serious endorsement money, it might affect salary cap discussions and collective bargaining agreements. The league might need to adapt to a new reality where endorsements are a major part of player compensation. For Nike, this is a smart investment in the future. Women's sports are only going to grow. By getting in now and making bold moves, they're positioning themselves as the brand that believed in women's basketball before it was cool. The pressure is now on Sophie to deliver. But if her career so far is any indication, she's ready for it. Nike didn't just pick a random player. They picked someone who embodies what they want their brand to represent. Will we see more deals like this? Will other retired superstars follow Jordan's lead and invest in women's sports? Will Sophie's success inspire more brands to take chances on WNBA players? One thing's for sure, women's basketball will never be the same. When Michael Jordan and Caitlin Clark surprise someone with $27 million, people pay attention. The conversation changes. The possibilities expand, and somewhere a young girl practicing her jump shot just realized that her dreams are worth a lot more than anyone told her. The future is here, and it's wearing Nike.